Hello naturalists. Earlier today we were talking about the four spheres. Now we're going to take a closer look at the first of those, the geosphere. In this section we will be talking about how rocks are formed and changed over time. We'll take some time to get an extreme close-up with a rock of our own, and we'll visit some of the most common rocks found out here in the Ozarks. The geosphere takes up much of the mass of our planet, even though we don't see most of it. Where does it lie? Right below our feet. So take a moment and imagine that you have X-ray vision, going down past your feet, past your basement, down below the Earth's surface. The first layer that you reach is the crust. That's that hard, solid outer layer of rock. Going down deeper, you reach the Earth's mantle, where these rocks have been heated up to anywhere from hundreds to thousands of degrees. At this point, some of those rocks have melted, and others are still in a solid form. I kind of think of it as being a little bit like the mushy cereal at the bottom of your bowl when you're finished eating breakfast. Beyond that, as the temperature gets even hotter, you reach the outer core of the Earth, which is where we have lots of metals in liquid form. At the very center of the Earth, we have solid metals in the inner core. And the temperatures there are extreme, the hottest on our planet. As you move upwards, that heat is radiating and moving out because of the radioactive elements that can be found in the center of our Earth. Now let's bring it back up to the Earth's surface. Do rocks move? Not usually on their own, but since the Earth's crust is resting on that semi-liquid mantle, sometimes these pieces, called tectonic plates, bump up against each other. You can see this when certain mountains, such as the Rocky Mountains, formed, as well as in the case of sometimes where those plates shift a little bit farther apart, and we have the liquid rock from beneath bubbling back up. What do we call that? A volcano. At this point, go ahead and take a look at the picture of the rock cycle on the webpage and follow along with us. As that magma bubbles up from inside the Earth and reaches the surface, it cools and hardens into igneous rocks. One of my favorite igneous rocks is obsidian, but other rocks such as granite and pumice are also igneous. But rocks don't stay the same forever, as much as it might seem that way to us. This obsidian might find its way back deep into the Earth where it melts down and becomes magma again. Or it might face even more heat and pressure and become another kind of rock. But we'll focus more on that one later. Instead, let's imagine that rock bashes up against other rocks and is affected by other elements such as the wind and the water and breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces of sand. That sand will eventually form into another kind of rock altogether. At this time, I'll invite you to take a look at the video for sandstone on ONSC Live, linked to from this page. In case you haven't guessed, sedimentary rocks, such as sandstone or limestone, can change too. Just like those igneous rocks, they may end up back down deep beneath the Earth's crust, where they melt and become magma to become igneous rocks again. Or they may change over time as well. For example, limestone, under immense heat and pressure, can become marble, a very commonly used building rock. And just like the sedimentary and the igneous rocks, these guys may continue to change as well by ending up deep within the Earth's core, undergoing that weathering process by which they break down, or even just being under more heat and pressure and becoming a different type of metamorphic rock. The cycle doesn't just move in one direction. Any type of rock can become any of the other groups of three as well. For another hands-on activity, let's take a close-up look at one of your local rocks. With your parents' permission, you can step outside and find a small rock, or if you happen to have one inside your house, that will work as well. We're going to look at this rock like a scientist. Take note of what color it is, how easily it's scratched. Do you see any crystals in it? How big are those crystals? Do they have a certain shape? See what other information you can get and make notes about your rock. Don't be afraid to take a really close look. That being said, if you do bring your rock in from outside, make sure that you're washing it off thoroughly before you begin. The last portion of our day, we're going to focus on some of the most common rocks that we can find out here in the Ozarks. Since we've already learned a lot about sandstone, we're going to focus on the other major three. The first of those is limestone. This grayish rock is easily scratched and can be found in places such as caves and being weathered away by creeks along the mountains. Now, this is one of my favorite rocks because it's actually made up of calcite, which is usually found in the crushed up shells of ancient sea creatures that lived out here millions of years ago, back when we were underneath a shallow ocean. Sometimes, if you look closely, you can even see the fossils of these creatures in this rock. This rock is also very cool because under some acids, it'll actually start to bubble and fizz a little bit, kind of like a baking soda volcano. One of my favorite rocks here at ONSC is Chert. Chert is made up of small particles of quartz, but unlike sandstone, these are even smaller, and they are formed into what we call a microcrystalline structure. That means that there are really, really tiny crystals in this rock. And this rock took a very long time to form, and often has traces of other minerals, such as iron, that form all of these fun multicolored layers. Out here at ONSC, I've seen chert in every color of the rainbow. This rock has very sharp edges often, and Native Americans would use these sharp edges to help form their spear points, arrowheads, digging tools, and other important tools. Today, we even use chert with steel to start fires. One of my favorite things to do with chert is to find a piece of chert and a piece of sandstone and rub them together. The powder that forms can be turned into a paint that you can use to paint your own natural pictures. How cool is that? Now, how many of you have ever split a rock with your bare hands? If you've ever wanted to feel like a superhero, Shale is the rock for you. This super easily broken rock can be found out here in the Ozarks, but here at ONSC it is the least common of the four. This rock has the amazing ability over time to be turned into slate. That is its metamorphic form. Have you ever owned anything made out of slate? And this brings us to the end of day 1. If you have any questions that you would like to ask us, please feel free to send us a Facebook message. We also love any sort of comments, stories, or other information that you would like to share with us. On Friday, we'll take some time to answer some of those questions in front of the live camera. So thank you for joining us on day 1, and we look forward to seeing you throughout the rest of this journey. Have a great day and happy exploring.